Yeah, put on record. Okay, today we're going to start. Today we're going to start. We're holding the Testament base. We're speaking about if you have a situation of a suffix and a vade. So you have a fact that happened. The question is, how do we matter that fact? For example, the example we're speaking about now is speaking about a house that was checked for chametz, and then we saw mice coming to the house with a piece of chametz. The question is, did the mice eat it or didn't the mice eat it? So we're bringing back and forth different proofs that you're going to have to check the house again. Why? Because if you see the mice coming to the house in front of your eyes, that is a vade. That's a fact that happened. You saw chametz coming to the house. Now you have a suffix whether the mice ate it or didn't eat it. So that suffix doesn't have the strength to take you out of a vade. So we're holding the Testament all the way at the bottom. The question, it's 3 lines from the bottom. The word starts with Potash. Ve'ein suffix meitzim devada. It says the Gemara, ve'ein suffix meitzim devada. Is that a din that a suffix can't take out of the vada? I've learned in the Brisa. Rabbi said, mice shall meitzit echad. Happened the story. There was once a slave of a certain person. Meitzit echad means a suppressor, meaning he was a yid, but he wasn't a nice man. I don't know why it's going to get to the story, but that's not the story happened. The story happened with a slave of someone who wasn't a nice man, but Remain in a place called Remain, and she tila nefel a she gave birth and miscarriage in front of a pit, meaning the nefel, the fetus fell into the pit, and the Kohen came, was walking past after she left, and the Kohen popped into the pit, put his head into the pit to see. The haters beiledem zacharu in the cave. He was curious to see how long she's tummy for, because if she's a zachar, if the miscarriage of the fetus was a boy, then she's tummy for a certain amount of time. If it was in a cave, if she's a female, then she's tummy for a longer time, for a different amount of time. So the Kohen wanted to know if she's tummy, how long she's tummy for. So if there was a fetus there, then the Kohen now would be tummy, right? Because he was mahil, he was an oil, he covered a pit that has a fetus inside. The story came from Chacham. The Kohen asked what to do. And Chacham said the Kohen is tired. Why is the Kohen tired? Yeah, obviously the Kohen wasn't able to find his solution. He wasn't able to see what it was. He was a boy or a girl. But Chacham said he's tired. Why is he tired? Because since there are rodents running around in the pit, and by the time the Kohen got there already, we say that the rodents ate the fetus already. Since they ate the fetus already, there's no fetus there anymore, and therefore the Kohen is tired. So the Gemara's question is like this: over here, we have the same scenario regarding chametz. Because why? Because over here, the vada yitila, we know for sure there was a miscarriage, there was a fetus over there. We know for sure those two over there. Alamai, we have a suffix. The suffix, we have a suffix if the rodents ate it or didn't eat it. The suffix legino. Hay shaita the kasi suffix. Meitzim devada. Chacham still said that the Kohen is tired. How can Chacham say the Kohen is tired if ain't suffix meitzim devada? This case is a vade. That was a short fetus there. It was a fact. And we're trying to mat it by saying that maybe the rodents ate the fetus already. If maybe the rodents ate the fetus already, it's a maybe. Like you already said in last Amud, that we don't say for sure that the rodents eat it, because if you say for sure the rodents eat it, even by dikas chametz, why is that even if the difference than dikas chametz? Even if the rodent came inside the house, maybe if for sure the rodent ate it, then you won't have to check the house. And we still say you have to check the house. So over here, why the Chacham say this Kohen is tired, relying that the rodent ate it already, if the Chayot says a contradiction to dikas chametz. Says the Gemara, read the Gemara answers, you're going to have to read the Mishnah, you have to read this case differently. It didn't happen that she for sure gave birth to fetus inside the pit. And what was the case? The case was different. The case was she gave birth to something, a item, meaning some item came out of the body inside the pit. It's a suffix if something happened. The suffix if something happened over here. Suffix if she actually gave birth to a fetus, or she gave birth some other item came out of the body which won't make you tum. And therefore, we have a suffix or suffix. It's a suffix. Both cases are suffix. It's a suffix if she gave birth to anything b'chal. Because maybe she gave birth. The Rambam brings down different cases that a lady gives birth to different, lets different items out of her body, that either could be fetuses which are under 40 days, or could be different items that come out the woman's body and don't make you tummy. So maybe in this case, so we say this case, she gave it. We don't know. We didn't see anything come out. We didn't see her give birth in faith. We know that something came out of her body in front of the birth. Elamai. The Kohen's asking that maybe it's a suffix whether this is a fetus or not. So maybe it's tummy. So Chaman said there's another maybe. Even if it's tummy, maybe the rodent ate it. So therefore, in this case specifically, we can rely on the rodent ate it. But when it comes to the chametz that we for sure saw a rodent come into the house and he had a piece of chametz in his mouth, it's valid. We can't matter just by saying that maybe the rodent ate it. Says the Gemara, that's a very nice way of touching the case, but it doesn't fit the words. What do we say in the words? We say klar that he looked inside the pit to see if the fetus was a male, the fetus was a female. Why would the Kohen look inside the pit if he's not even sure that a fetus came out of the woman's womb? Maybe if we're describing that it was a suffix, whether there was a fetus came out to begin with or not. So why is the Kohen checking to male or female if it was only a suffix? It says, I don't know. That's not such a big problem. Because later, those two things. First, he wants to check if it was a fetus or it was something else. And if it's in Meifalapila, and if you can tell me that she did give birth to she did miscarriage a fetus, he just wanted to know, even if maybe no one, he wasn't sure that a fetus came out. So that's still a suffix, but he still checked. Because even if it wasn't, maybe it was a fetus, and if it was a fetus, he has to know if it was on the kid. So therefore, it's not a contradiction from this case to the case of Dikas Chametz. Because by the Dikas Chametz, we know for sure a rodent came inside the house with a piece of chametz. That's a vada. In the case of the shivcha, the maid who gave birth inside a pit, that's not a vada. She for sure gave birth to a fetus. Maybe she gave birth to something else. That's one answer. Another answer is Hasam vada vada. Over there, both cases are valid. What do you mean both cases are valid? Rodents hang around inside pits. So therefore, since she gave birth inside a pit as opposed to a house, so since the rodents are for sure there, so they for sure ate the chametz. They for sure ate the fetus. And therefore, even though there's a vada, she for sure gave birth to fetus. Unlike the answer we just answered that the case was a suffix to begin with. Now I want a different answer. That she for sure gave birth to fetus. Elamai, since a pit is a place that rodents are there. So we rely that for sure rodents ate the chametz. The question is how that would answer our question. Because we just said now, in our case of Dikas Chametz, that we for sure saw a rodent come inside the house. So we know for sure there's mice running around the house. And we're still not relying that the mouse for sure ate the chametz. So why is this different in the case of Tumah? Then we say that since the mice are there, since the rodents are there, they for sure ate the fetus. So the Gemara answers, Nihi, the Shayom Meshayra, Migrar Mia, Vada Geron Bahi Shaita. Even though we don't say that the rodents for sure eat their food, meaning in the case of Tumah, even though we don't say that rodents for sure eat their food like chametz, but mikra mia vada geron bahi shaita. For sure, they didn't leave it in one place, meaning they for sure grabbed away the fetus and moved it to a different place that wasn't accessible to hide the food or to put it away. So they don't leave food hanging around. They for sure take the thing from one place to another. As soon as they see food, they pounce on it and hide it in a different place. By chametz, that won't help us, because by chametz, hiding it in a different place would mean a different place inside the house, and that will make it still chayshish you'll make it still chayiv in dikas chametz. So there's two answers. One answer is that there's a suffix whether she gave birth to a fetus. Second answer is that we know for sure she gave birth to a fetus, but since it's in a place that mice are hanging around, we say for sure the mice took the fetus from there and moved it to a different place, and they wouldn't stop leaving it hanging around. Says the Gemara, so I'm going all the way back to the Mishnah. What do we say in the Mishnah? We said in the Mishnah that if the only time you have to check for chametz, if you see a mice come inside check for chametz if a mice come inside your house, is if you know for sure the mice came inside your house. But there's no chash if once you check your house for chametz and you didn't see any mice come in. So there's no chash that a mouse is going to come inside the house with chametz. Why? Because the Mishnah said, because if so, ain't no said. It doesn't make sense. You're going to be chayshish inside your house. Every room you're going to check inside your house. As soon as you finish checking, you're going to have to check it again because maybe a mouse came in and brought chametz. And even if you check your house, maybe you bought chametz from your friend's house. And even if you bought from your friend's house, maybe you bought it from a different city. So you could check chametz in London, and then there's a shash that chametz is going to come from a different place, a different neighborhood, because the mice should run around all over the place. So the Mishnah said, "Ein ladavar sin." The question is, do we actually say that? But we see in Allah, Vaktani Seifa, the rest, the second part of the Mishnah said, we're learning Daf Yud, it says, Masha Shir, Yanicheno Betzino, Shleitzari, Bdika Achra. Yeah, when we do Bdikas Chametz, we do Bdikas Chametz after, we don't do Bdikas Chametz right at Pesach, we do Bdikas Chametz by the night before Pesach, right? Erev Pesach. So you can store your Chametz for a whole bunch of hours until you have to get rid of the Chametz. So then what do you do with the chametz left over after the bikas chametz? You need breakfast the next day. So mashashi and ichana betzina, or the bikas chametz that you did, you used for the actual pieces of bread. So what should you do with that chametz? You should hide it away. Why should you hide it away? So the Mishnah finishes off. So you wouldn't have to check your house again. Why in the world would you have to check your house again? If we're not cheshish that the mice are going to take the chametz from place A to place B, why do you have to hide your chametz? Put it in an inaccessible place. You should put it in a place that you know where it is. You don't have to hide it. Just put it in a place that you know where it is, so you don't forget about it. And then the next morning you come again. How does that fit with our Mishnah? Mishnah said we're not cheshish that chametz to move one place to another. And the hemshech of the Mishnah itself contradicts itself and says we are cheshish. The chametz are going to move from one place to another. There's a few answers to this question. The first answer is Rabbi says like kash. It's not a question. It's not a contradiction. Ha bar ba'asa. And ha b'shleisha is very simple. The Mishnah says they have to hide chametz. Speaking about you the chametz on 14th out of Pesach. Ha b'shleisha also. That which the Mishnah said that we're not cheshish that a chulda that a rodent is going to bring chametz from one place to another. Is speaking about on Yud Gimel Nisan. What does that mean? But if you're checking your house for chametz on the day before Pesach, so then there's still bread hanging around. There's still bread, since they know the whole house isn't checked yet. So there's still bread available in the house. And therefore, if mice are going to come, even if they're going to bring it from one room, the mouse is going to eat it and not going to hide it. It's not going to put it in a different place. But also, now when it comes to Pesach, and all the Jews are getting rid of the chametz inside the house. So the mouse knows, the mouse is going to ask how the mouse knows in a second. But the mouse knows that there's no chametz left. So he needs chametz. He knows that until tonight, until you're going to bake matzah on Pesach, they're not going to have any food. So what should you do? So the mouse is going to take the chametz from one place. The mouse is going to take and hide. So dafkan erev Pesach v'cheshesh that you are that mouse is going to take chametz from place A to place B. And when mice usually take chametz, they usually eat it straight away. But if the mouse knows that he needs to put storage away, so he's not going to eat it. He's going to hide it in a certain place. Is the mouse, is the rodent, a navi? How in the world the yada or idna abasa? You think the mouse knows that today's Yudal Nisan, and Yudal, we're only going to bake bread later on for matzah or mushaida or metamra. You can tell me that the mouse knows that today's out of Pesach and we're not going to make bread for the rest of the day, and therefore the mouse is going to take chametz and hide it. How does the mouse know? The mouse is in a navi. So Rabbi has to say. Rabbi doesn't like Abaye's answer. Rabbi argues with Abaye and finds a different answer to the Mishnah. We have to see exactly what Abaye's Havmina was. But Rabbi says a new answer. Rabbi says, Masha Shiro Yenechenu Betzina. He says the reason why you have to hide the chametz after you check for chametz. If you check for chametz, after you have to check for chametz, why do you have to hide the chametz? Maybe a mouse is going to come in front of our eyes. We said in the last Amid that when does the Mishnah say you don't have to check chametz? If you don't have to check chametz again, if you don't see any mice. But everyone agrees if you see a mouse in front of your face take chametz from place A, then Mechesha took it to place B. So in our case, after you finish, Chacham gave you a good idea, a good eitzah, a good resolution that you shouldn't have to check your house again. Hide the chametz. Because we're scared that if you don't hide the chametz, the mouse is going to come in front of your face. You're going to see the mouse, and then you have to check your house again. And the Gemara finishes off. Tanya comes here to Rabbi. You have a brayso that taught like Rabbi. The brayso says, because someone wants to eat chametz after to check chametz. How should he eat the chametz? What should we do? So the brayso says, whenever he leaves over, you should hide it. Why? The brayso says specifically the reason. Yeah, a lot of braysos, a lot of times as opposed to Mishnah, a brayso usually a lot of times teaches us the reason for the din. So in our case, the brayso says, that a mouse shouldn't come and take chametz in front of our eyes. Why? Because then if we see the mouse taking chametz in front of our eyes, then we have to check the house again. And there's no point in checking your house if there's a chash. Then you have to check the house again. So Chacham said you have a problem. You have to get rid of the problem. The way to get rid of the problem is to hide the chametz. That's answer number 2. Answer number 3 is that Mari says no. The reason why you hide the chametz is nothing got to do with seeing a mouse in front of our eyes. There's another scenario that we know for sure, 100%, that a mouse took chametz. Again, the Mishnah says that there's no such thing as a suffix. Maybe the mouse took the chametz. The only time you have to check it if you see for sure the mouse took the chametz. So Rabbi just touched us a second ago that the scenario that we see for sure the mouse took chametz, we actually saw the mouse. And Mari has a different opinion. It says Shema Gzeida Shema Yaniach Esev Nimtzat Tesha. It's that maybe you put away 10 pieces of chametz. It's actually one of the makeres that you need 10 pieces of chametz. Maybe you hid 10 pieces of chametz, and then you woke up the next morning, you found 9. So even though you didn't see any mice, but you know for sure that the mouse took the chametz, because if you rely that you counted properly the first time you put 10, you know for a fact there was 10. Now there's 9. Who took the 9th one? Or the 10th one was a mouse. So you know, even though you didn't see a mouse in front of your face, but you know for sure that a mouse took it, and in this case you'll be chayiv to check the house again. Yeah. How that fits into the Brisa? He doesn't question why the Mari has to give a different answer. What was wrong with the Brisa? What was wrong with the Rabbi's answer, as opposed to Rav Mari? Pashas Rav Mari gives a no answer because the case of seeing a mouse in front of your face take the chametz is much less common than leaving the chametz out for a whole night, and the mouse has a whole night to take the extra piece, and only in the morning you're going to see there's a 10th one. Says the Gemara. Now the Gemara finishes with that sugya. Now we're dealing with it's a very complicated. I would say complicated. It's a very complex sugya of sfeikas. How we deal with sfeikas. And it starts off like this: you have 9 bundles of matzah and 1 bundle of chametz. You have 10 bundles. 1 is matzah, 9 are matzah, and 1 is chametz. Then in front of our face, you're busy eating lunch. You suddenly see a mouse come. A mouse took one of the pieces of the bundle. We don't know if you took matzah, if you took chametz. It's a big enough commitment. If you took matzah, you don't have to check your house again. If you took chametz, then you're gonna have to check your house again because now you saw him take chametz in front of your eyes. Obviously, we're speaking about you don't know exactly. You can't see which one was missing. So we're not scared. Which one? So we're scared. We don't know if you took matzah or took chametz. So what's the din? What does he have to do? Again, the time we spoke about, the Mishnah said if you have a suffix, if a mouse took chametz, you don't have to check. If you know for sure a mouse took chametz, you do have to check. Now, what if you know for sure a mouse took chametz, a mouse came inside the house, but you don't know if it was matzah or chametz? So what do we do? So the Gemara, this is the same din as Tesha Chanuis. We're going to type what it means in a second. And the din is by Tesha Chanuis is Potash. If the meat, the din of Tesha Chanuis is like this. Basically, if you have 9 houses and 9 shops that sell treif meat. One sells kosher meat, so reiv is treif, or it could be the other way around. Reiv is kosher and one is treif, and you bought meat from one of the shops. So the thing is like this: if you don't know which shop you bought it from, meaning you just came out the shop, you're in that shop, and you don't know if it's kosher meat or treif meat, then you have to go up your reiv. But if it's machsa, then it's a suffix and if the meat is ready outside the shop, you find meat in the street, and you don't know if the meat comes from a kosher shop or a non-kosher shop. So the thing is, you got to terrorize the majority. So if you have 9 shops that sell treif and one sells kosher, so then the meat is going to be treif. But then we only say this din if the meat is not in the shop or the meat is not around the shop. If the meat is right next to the shop, or it's inside the shop, and you don't know if it came from a kosher, which shop it's from. So the din is it's called kavua machza. It will go half. We do not say reiv in this case, and therefore be possible. Treif. So the question is like this: this din, if you have 9 bundles of matzah and 1 bundle of chametz, which is right? 9 of matzah is 9, and 1 of chametz is 1, and 9 is reiv of 1. So where is the piece now? The piece now is is not in front of the bundles. The piece now is in a different place. So if you find that piece, you can rely on Hainu Tesha Chanois Potash. That's the din of Tesha Chanois, and therefore, that would be the din that you'll be if it's in front of your face. It's gonna be. We're gonna say that we don't go after the oath. But if it's already Potash, it's already separated from where the suffix was. So then, that would be the sefer. What does it say in the sefer of the Mishnah? The Tanya says in the Mishnah, Teisha Chanois Kulam Mechan Basa Shchuta. The Achas Mecheres B'Sanevit. If you have 9 shops, 9 of the 10 shops, 9 of the shops sell kosher meat, and 1 of the shops sells sefer meat. But Lakach Me'achas Mehem, and you bought a meat from one of them. We don't know from which one you bought the meat. It's suffix. The suffix is us. Why? Because you only go after it if you're not where the place the suffix was. If you're still by the place where the suffix was, you don't go after it. So if you find the meat in the street, so now there's no chashas. You didn't go to the shop to buy the meat. You found the meat in the street. So it's in an area which has nine kosher shops and 1 trefa shop. So now, case like this: if you're going to find a piece of bread hanging around your house, it's not in the mouse's mouth. It's hanging a piece of bread hanging around your house. That's enough Potash. It's not next to the bundles anymore. So therefore, it's not next to the bundles. So you go after it. Since there's 9 bundles of matzah, 1 bundle of chametz. So therefore, you go after it. If you saw the mouse take a piece from the bundles, so that's counted as if the mouse is still by the bundles. And if it's still by the bundles, once the mouse is still by the bundles, you don't know which one. You have to go. You don't go pirei. You go l'chumne. You say that it comes from the chametz. That's one case. Another case is we have the same type of idea. You have 2 bundles, 1 of matzah, 1 of chametz. And in front of these 2 bundles, you have 2 houses. One house is checked, and one house is not checked. Before doing 1 mouse, now he brought a friend, 2 mice. So now, one of them took the matzah bundle, one of them took the chametz bundle, so there's no more bundles left. The question is like this. We don't know if the one from the matzah bundle went into the checked house, so then he doesn't have to check. The house that's not checked, and we have to check again. The question is the house that was checked already. So we have a stuff. Maybe the mouse that had the matzah bundle came in, and therefore I'm still good. Or maybe the mouse that had the chametz bundle came into the house that was checked, and then we have to check the house again. And he's knocking on the Rab's door in the morning, or he wants to know, does he have to flip over his whole house to check the house of chametz? Says the Gemara compares that case to the case that we find in the Mishnah. It says in the Mishnah like this. If you have two baskets, one is full of fruit from chulin fruit. And one of them is truma fruit. And in front of these 2 bundles are 2 other bundles of fruit. So you have 4 bundles of fruit. 4 bundles of fruit, 2 are truma, 2 are chulin. And both bundles fell into baskets fell into the other 2 baskets. The problem is we don't know if the truma fell into the truma basket and then I'm fine, or maybe the chulin fell into the truma basket and now I'll have a problem. Or the truma fell into if the truma fell into the chulin basket, the whole basket is not mutter to eat. So what should I do? Then it's mutter. It's mutter. Why? Why is it mutter? Shani Eimer, because I'm saying this din. That I'm going to assume that chulin is saying chulin afro, that the right baskets fell into the right baskets, the chulin fell into the chulin, and therefore the apples are fine. Well, truma is saying truma afro, and the truma fell into the truma basket, and therefore I'm fine. So in our case, we're going to assume that the chametz went into the non-checked house, and therefore you have to check the house again, so you're fine. And the matzah went into the house that was already checked, and therefore the din would be you do not have to check the house again. Okay, we're going to stop over here. Bottom of the testament base. The next is continuing to speak on different types of scenarios where a person has a suffix if his house now has chametz inside of it or doesn't have chametz inside of it. Okay, have a good night. See you tomorrow.